All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us today for a Bastion Roundtable session. We've got two HR leaders here in ANZ. We were actually supposed to have three, but the third one, Joey Zhang from MongoDB, has an extreme fever, so she won't be joining us. But today we've got Sharon Tan. Sharon is the product owner for Talent Mission, essentially in charge of all executive recruitment at Telstra. Sharon has previously worked in large leadership roles across Asia Pacific at companies like Singtel, ANZ, and Accenture. We've also got with us Ian Lilly. Ian is the HR director for ANZ for Martin Brower, which is a supply chain services business, primarily servicing McDonald's. MBA qualified, and before Martin Brower, Ian spent a number of years in leadership roles at DHL. So I guess the concept today and what we want to talk about is technology in recruitment. Now, I've had a few senior leaders talk to me about applicant screening process, the volume of applicants. I think if you look on LinkedIn and there's a senior role advertised, you may get 200 or 300, 400 applicants for a particular role. And so what's that process like from the HR side? How does that work? What's your experience as well? So I guess the first question I wanted to ask, I'll start with you, Sharon. Do you see any evolving trends in recruitment or HR technology that either Telstra is using or you're getting a lot of suppliers coming to talk to you about?
Okay, sure. So thanks very much for the opportunity to contribute. I actually do more than executive recruiting, so it's a lot wider. So this topic is actually quite relevant.
Yep.
Yeah, particularly in the recruitment area, I think there's a lot of AI tools out there. If you look at different spectrums of HR, right, particularly in the TA or recruitment sector, lots and lots of vendors or opportunities out there. So particularly with COVID, what we did was really stood up, and we already had it going for our graduate sort of hires. We stood up within 24 hours a lot of more COVID-related recruitment needs. We went to market for probably 2,800 jobs, and we did it all virtually with AI video interviewing. Okay. So we were able to do that really quickly, which actually helped us then position, I guess, tiering of candidates, which actually helped then for a turnaround, because we were making almost like 500 to 800 starts a week for a continuous period of between 6 to 8 weeks. And because of that, and through some of our AI tools, we were able to respond to the business needs really quickly. Yeah.
And so one of the questions I had from that was, with the technology, and I've seen a few examples, is there an ability for candidates to trick the system? So once they've done the video interview and the system has suggested that they continue in the recruitment process, did you find that the quality was there, or were at times there were lags? And did you find that candidates could maybe suggest certain things or say certain things in different ways to get an outcome they wanted rather than it actually being true?
So that was probably one of our skepticism in the beginning, when you're actually out in the market looking at who you want to partner with, right? And I think what you do is you actually partner with who you trust, and you actually have to probably understand the algorithms and the background of how they actually do this. For us, the video interview was just one subset of what we were using. We were also using gamification tools, as well as for some of our software engineering, and this is not COVID related, but some of our software engineering profiles and our tools. We've actually been using software engineering AI pieces as well. So it's gamification, it's actually technology tools all online, which gives us that reach of being able to talk to any candidate wherever they are around the world, put them through an assessment anytime, real time, and get that. Now, one of the responses that we had from our COVID sort of line managers for these jobs they were really, really impressed with the caliber, the speed and the caliber. So that also confirmed, okay, that's good. But to your point, we will always ensure that we look at the data and some of the analytics coming through to ensure that we're not going to have a biased result. And we continuously work with the vendor and their ops site, as well as their AI data scientists, to confirm the background testing.
Okay, that makes sense. Ian, we mentioned before the call started that Martin Brower doesn't have as level of sophistication with the AI tools, but do you get approached often from suppliers in the HR technology space around this product can support the business doing examples. Do you see any kind of trends or consistencies in terms of people approaching you?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We get approached quite regularly for all sorts of different software packages and different companies wanting to introduce them to us. We have a applicant tracking system today that we use, but it's not linked to any AI. And it's quite interesting to hear Sharon talk about the gamification and the AI and the advantages that they're able to do when they're recruiting such large volumes in such a short period of time. Interesting to see how successful that was for you. Really interesting information.
Tell us a little bit more about the gamification, Sharon. What does that mean for people who don't understand that?
So this particular vendor actually obviously bought or inquired another company what part of their assessment strategy was through letting you play games. So the take up or the interest is okay. And one of the tools that I looked at was games in terms of numbers. So it's actually your response to numbers and actually doing things, and they've probably got about a suite of 7 or 8 different type of tools. So depending on what you want to assess and what type of roles. So that was what we call gamification. And it lends to both an experience for the candidate that's of interest because it's something, and it's also speed and eye to detail and so on, as well as just something different, right? I mean, when we talk about assessment, this is one. I mean, other things that we're actually piloting, we're actually doing. Obviously, we have a HRIS system, which is our ATS, Ian, and more than happy to take this offline and chat with you more. But it's actually predicting a lot of AI tools that's coming through in terms of opportunities of your next role based on your skills and based on your interests. So that's really pivoting us towards AI. That's one. The other things that we're looking at is also when we're writing our job descriptions, okay? We're possibly piloting an AI tool that will actually enhance our job descriptions, because if you think about it, recruiters are not marketing people. They don't write ads that are non-biased or appeal. Right, so we're using AI tools also that just say, hey, if you wrote this ad, you wouldn't get really good response. This is how you actually change that. So we're doing things like that as well.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Ian, how do you manage the volume of applicants? So let's say in a Martin Brower role, you put up a specific job online on Seek or LinkedIn or any other job boards or things like that. Do you see the volume of applicants at times being overwhelming? And if so, how do you typically navigate that process?
Yeah. Sometimes, as you can imagine, we put an advert out, and the number of applications that come through can be overwhelming. A lot of people will apply for the role even if they don't meet the criteria. So it's a matter of we manually will go through the people, and we do all that manually at the moment. The other way that we like to recruit is through the back end of LinkedIn. We target people with the set skills and experience that we want, and we found the LinkedIn platform is quite successful for us.
Yeah, I mean, certainly LinkedIn as a recruiter, I always describe LinkedIn as a cheat sheet for recruitment. It's an easy out. It's an easy way to identify people. But for me, in terms of relying on that from an assessment, it's essentially an entry for a conversation. That's the way I look at LinkedIn. It's an
introduction point.
Yeah, it's a connection point. It's a vessel to have a conversation. But if you're relying on that to identify skill and to determine suitability, then you have a problem. But it's a cheat sheet. It makes life easier. And anyone who says they don't use it is probably lying. So it's definitely there. What about in terms of, for the more senior roles, because both of you are responsible for leadership recruitment. What about in terms of self-promotion and the social media, digital media, self-promotion type of, there's a lot there, right? But do both, whoever wants to start first, but do you see value in that, or do you sometimes see examples where there's too much and it becomes the arrogance that comes with talking about yourself extensively? I mean, it's an interesting one because candidates are doing a lot of thought leadership, and personally, I feel like I probably do too much sometimes because there's too much content out there already. It's a difficult balance to manage, right? Do you guys see that as well?
Yeah. I'll take this one first. So we've been actively trying to increase our profile because no one really knows who we are and what we do. So we found social media the platform to try and do that, along with attending university open days and things.
Yep.
The most difficult thing that we found is generating content that's short and snappy and can get someone's interest and actually hold their interest for 10 seconds so they read it and just not scroll through, because as you said, there's a lot of people on there these days doing thought leadership, and some of it's a bit, sometimes you look at LinkedIn and it's a little bit like Facebook these days, but it depends on what market you're going for as well. So for our blue collar employees, we get a lot more interaction through our Facebook page, and for our white collar employees, they definitely utilize our LinkedIn page. But definitely a great platform to get your brand out there and start to get recognized.
And Sharon, how do you see that? Do you use self-promotion as an evaluation tool? Like, do you go onto any social media platforms to look at, what they're posting, how they're commenting, their digital self? Is it reflective of the person you're meeting? Do you do that type of work?
I do.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's also quantifiable about what role I'm actually going for. So if I'm going for a marketing profession and someone that's probably creative inclined, I'm probably wanting to see more of this stuff, because that's contention to me, potentially the tools that they should be using to actually enable their jobs, right? And similar to what Ian's actually saying, depends also on what workforce, whether it's blue and white collar. Now, if it's someone in a risk or legal or maybe even a finance type profile, I would probably be a little bit more cautious. And it's also, is it a candidate or is it one of my senior execs, right? If it's one of our senior execs, it's what we're also trying to say. We actually have ambassador programs. We actually want some of this stuff marketing because we actually want them to build a profile of following, so it enhances what we're trying to do from a recruitment and a following perspective. So we actually help with the content and the positioning and so on, right? But I think when it was interesting, when I was actually in ANZ, we actually used to do run tests on digital footprint of our senior execs before we would hire, and actually try to see what's out there and what sort of content and tonality they're posting, to actually say, from a behavior and a cultural perspective, is this giving us any nuances on what they're thinking? It was really more along those lines. Yeah. Ian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think we've lost.
It kind of went a bit frozen, didn't it?
Yeah, I think we lost Tony. I think he's back now.
Oh, here we go, Tony, you're back.
Well, if you guys were still going, that's great. I was concerned I lost all three. I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Okay. Well, I'm sure whatever you said was very valuable. I'm not sure what happened to me there. So, yeah, I guess the last question I wanted to ask both of you, have you ever disqualified someone for their digital presence? So outside of the CV, if you saw something online.
I have.
You have?
Yeah, I was going to say that depending on what they've posted, I would absolutely.
Yeah, I have. Not in my current role, but previous roles, yes, I have.
Okay. No, look, I've seen a few examples just around. I mean, it's a difficult one, especially around political views and things of that nature. Not that people aren't entitled to have them, but in a corporate environment, especially large corporates, there's a certain tone that probably doesn't need to be communicated openly, even regardless of what your own personal beliefs are, right? There's a balance to that. And so I've seen a few examples where clearly something won't be aligned to the cultural values of the business, or some other example like that. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how much more broader the assessment becomes now because of the more technology we're incorporating into our world, right? So
yeah, and that's part of, Tony, what I was actually saying in terms of the cultural nuances, because like when you missed it, I think it's because when you think about it now, I mean, years ago when I was a recruiter, right, your personal life and your private life your personal life and your professional life were actually a little bit different because we didn't have the social media tools that you have now. But the professional life and the private life are very joined together now, right? So in a way, what you're actually posting in terms of your political views or your religious views or your diversity views has impact potentially with, if I'm going to hire this person, really? Yeah. And I tell my nephews and my niece, right, you know, I know you're very young, but, you know, Auntie Sharon's telling you your footprint, whatever you do, remains with you forever and ever. Just be aware.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a big sports guy. I love sports, and you see the examples of high school athletes saying stuff, and then they become professionals, and then they have all these Twitter feeds or social media posts come back up, and there's, you know, the racism or the political views back up. So yeah, it's just definitely something that candidates need to be conscious of when they're engaging digitally. So okay, well.
I was just going to add there, I think it becomes more relevant the more senior the role. So when you're representing the company at higher levels and you're responsible for setting the tone of the organization and the culture of the organization, it becomes very relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I wanted to keep this a good meeting is a short meeting. This was really helpful and really insightful. So I want to say thanks to both of you for attending today. This has been really good. So we'll be posting this up on social media today for all of our network as well. And if you have any comments or questions, or you want to reach out to Sharon or Ian, I suggest everyone to do that. If you have any comments on what we talked about today. And yeah, thanks for watching. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.